You're asking what our favorite donuts are? Like just
Yeah, like
general?
what's your favorite chain donut place? And then what's your favorite local donut place? Like, so for me, chain wise, I like Dunkies. I'll go to Dunkies.
Sure.
Be happy. Local, there's a place called the Donut Stop in South County. That is the place that actually we got the donuts for our wedding, for the donut board that we had there.
Oh, they weren't very good.
Okay.
I don't think I'll eat those again. Bad memories.
Such a dick.
Those donuts were the best part of my wedding. Let's be real.
Let's be real.
Well, that's fair.
I think Krispy Kreme is the best chain.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have had Krispy Kreme delivered to our house, even though it's in Florissant, which is not close.
Johnny, you are donut people. Like your family is deeply
we're Americans,
fried and battered. Yeah, but like you guys put like, hey, look at all the donut places we've gone to on Instagram. Like you have a whole
like 6 years ago.
Why
it was, but
it
happened for a long time. You ran out of donut places. That's the only reason you stopped.
We hit up as many places in St. Louis County as we could.
I don't have that. I mean, I like a donut, but I don't have that attachment to donuts.
Okay. So it's not even like back home, there wasn't like the local donut place. So you're like, oh man.
I come from a very tiny town that has no local donut place. Wow.
Okay.
When I lived in Estes Park, there was a literal shack. It was a shack. It was called a Donut House. And these two middle-aged women ran it, and it was fantastic. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. You walk in, and it's just the floor is kind of slippery from all the grease.
It was pretty well kept for being a little shack, but yeah.
I love places like that.
I mean, was there anything better visually than the hot donut sign at Krispy Kreme? I mean,
that is nice, having the hot part.
My mouth's watering right now.
Quite nice.
I never
felt
dissolve
fatter in your mouth.
Just put one of those like this. It's like cotton candy. It's gone. It's fucking gone.
So I'm from a small town in mid Missouri, and when my family would come over to St. Louis, usually to watch Cardinal games, it would be almost a mandatory stop to hit up a Krispy Kreme donuts on the way, especially if we saw the hot sauce. You have to do it now.
You have to.
Yeah.
So I have a history with Krispy Kreme, but I do kind of like the cakey doughiness of a Dunkin'. I'm kind of on board with that. That's not bad.
The butternut Dunkin' or the butternut donut at Dunkin' is probably my favorite. It's got that real crispy. Oh, we gotta stop talking. Let's talk about video games.
All right. You know what? Actually, I'll give you one local one because I didn't really answer your question there. There's one downtown that I've enjoyed called Pharaoh's Donuts.
Oh, so good.
Which is quite solid. That I've worked at a lot of places in downtown St. Louis, and Pharaoh's being close to basically all of them, walking distance. That's been nice to just, hey, you bring in a dozen. They had a good selection of things. My thing, I like regular glazed donuts are great. I like anything with apple. Like, give me the apple fritter, or for like Krispy Kreme, they've got like the apple stuffed one that also has cinnamon sugar.
Hell yeah.
Dusted on top. Man, that's good.
I would venture to say you'd be hard pressed to find something that you could consider a bad donut. Like even the ones that aren't your favorite, like it's still a donut. It's like pizza. It's like
I gotta get the last
one. There's bad
before we go.
Okay,
on.
There's emus.
I love an apple cider donut from most orchards, and like Eckert's here in the Midwest makes a phenomenal, cakey fucking cinnamon apple cider donut. They're just
We make homemade ones every year. It's so good.
All right, outside, you know this by looking at us that we love donuts. You might not know this by looking. Well, you wouldn't know this by looking at us that we love video games.
3 doughy nuts right here.
Oh God, write that down. That's the title. So this is a special episode of the Casual Hour. We are going to break down the video games that we've been playing, which include, but not limited to, a couple new, old, weird Pokemon games from Chase. We're going to give a hot take on that network test from the Gundam Evolution game that's getting ready to come out. I am going to talk about In Other Waters and a game called Stacklands. And Johnny took a little trip with TOEM. So we got some big updates for games. And on the back half of this episode, it's a very special deep dive, which we're changing the format, and we'll talk a bit more about that when we get to it. But tonight we're going to talk about midnight launches.
Yeah,
our experience.
So it's like a very special episode of Blossom. To date myself.
Almost as old as midnight launches. So we're going to talk a bit about our experiences with them and maybe where they're at today, if anything at all. So we've got a really big episode. We've talked about donuts. We're going to talk about games. We're going to talk about game releases. Make yourself at home. It's going to be a good time. Chase, what the fuck have you been playing?
Yeah, is this?
I see some Pokemon names, and I think I know where this is going to go, but I don't.
They make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
At least one of them does.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, Johnny and I, as you well know, have been playing through our Pokemon Nuzlocke on my YouTube channel.
We know that you like Pokemon.
Shiny.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, big Pokemon fan. Probably like top 3 series ever. So, some days top 1. So we've been playing that Nuzlocke, and that's been fine. We're about to finish it. I believe this weekend we are going to be recording the hopefully final episode and getting that out to people. That'll be exciting. But I kind of just had a Pokemon itch that I wanted to scratch, and I've got this analog pocket, and I've got all these ROMs downloaded, ROM hacks specifically, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll jump in and try one of these. And I was really interested, Johnny. I know you like this YouTuber as well, JRose11. Yep. This guy does Pokemon. I mean, he does all sorts of kinds of Pokemon solo runs, but specifically, his big claim to fame is doing these single solo runs on Pokemon Red and Blue, that generation of Pokemon, and finding ways of kind of not necessarily breaking the game, but using the jankiness of Red and Blue to make some of these runs possible, or just to make them efficient. And he's kind of trying to see what's the best Pokemon in Gen 1 to use, something that could solo the entire game. And it's been really fun, and he times them all, and he keeps track of the levels, and he has a big ranking. Like, he has Mewtwo at the top, and it doesn't seem like anything's going to be able to take down Mewtwo from the way he plays these things. But it's fun to watch and fun to see kind of what strategies he uses. So I've been watching a decent amount of that content lately, which has given me another itch to, like, you know what? I don't want to just play Pokemon. I want to go back and play some original
you want to play
Red and
Pokemon.
Blue ass Pokemon.
You want to play good Pokemon.
I want to play the Pokemon that I love. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the good Pokemon. So I found some ROM hacks. A lot of Pokemon ROM hacks seem to be either in Crystal, which is a popular Pokemon game to ROM hack, or Fire Red, which is the GBA version.
The occasional green, but yeah.
Sure. But you'll see those two as big games to, like, base ROM hack off of, that usually will have a different tile set or different maps or things like that. Plenty of things that you can do, but they're kind of these base mechanics that you get by choosing which game you're going to use as your base ROM hack. And for the weirdness is that there are some, not a lot, but there are some that are based on Red and or Blue. And in this one specifically, Red. So I wanted to try a couple of these.
Is based off of is Red?
Yes. So I played a Pokemon ROM hack called Pokemon Orange, or Pokemon Orange Island Adventure. It's bad. There are lots of Pokemon Orange ROMs out there. A lot of different complete hacks. So there's one that's based on Fire Red. There's one that's based on Crystal. Those are apparently better because I must have found the worst one. It's fucking terrible. The idea is that, hey, we took the anime, there's the time where Ash goes to the Orange Islands after doing the main Kanto adventure, and that's when he gets his Lapras, and you do some other shit there. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm down to see something like this, but this game is just not. Game's just not very good, and it really starts to show a little bit of the problems that Pokemon Red and Blue dealt with, but more so how somebody else who's not Game Freak could go wrong by trying to design a game using those mechanics. So here's the problem: you start in a town, you get your starter Pokemon. What's up?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Yeah? Everything good? Okay. So you start pretty similarly. You're in a new town. You get your starter Pokemon. That's all fine. You got a rival. He does the same thing. But then you go out and you go to a Pokemart and you get a surfboard. And that is like, oh, that's kind of nice. Like, that's your HM now. You don't have to have HMs in this game. You have a surfboard that lets you do that. Cool. But the first Pokemon you face, or the first Pokemon you find in some tall grass, there's the option of Dratini, which awesome. That's a cool ass Pokemon, especially to get something really early. That's something you don't see in the original generation games. Or a Lapras, and like, holy shit, that's also awesome. Here's the problem though: those Pokemon are fucking hard to catch, and also you're at a point where you haven't faced any trainers in the game, so you have only the money you start with, which isn't a whole lot of money. So you go to the mart and you buy as many Pokeballs as you can, and you throw one at the Dratini when it has like half health and it's only level 5. You think that should be able to catch it, and the game's mechanics are like, no, you missed the Pokemon entirely, because those Pokemon are meant to be caught much later, which means they're much harder to catch. I mean, those two examples specifically, you don't even catch them with regular Pokeballs in the game. Lapras you get as a gift, and Dratini you catch in the Safari Zone. So they're not coded like a Rattata or a Pidgey, something that has, in the game's code, those are easier things to catch. They have different numbers behind them that make them easy or useful early game Pokemon. And this game just kind of didn't care, or thought it'd be really cool to give you these Pokemon early, but didn't do the work to make it possible.
Program it so you could actually try and that's frustrating.
Right. So I was able to catch a Dratini with a lot of effort. But then it just kind of goes downhill from there, where it's just not fun to play. It's just really poorly designed. The levels of things are all out of whack. It's a terrible map to kind of try to navigate. It's just not fun. It's not fun at all. And I ended up quitting extremely early on that version. I'm still interested in some of these other Orange Island ROM hacks, and the other ones sound like they're much better. But this one, real bad. Real bad.
Yeah. So
I mean that seems to be the case with many of these.
Absolutely.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I guess we've talked a little bit over the last few weeks. Like, I've been playing Coromon, and I've played Temtem, Ooblets, all this other shit. I think we even brought up the comment on either a quick look that we were doing or on one of our prior episodes where you had made the comment, like, there's so many of these now. Like, what do you want? Like a ROM hack? Do you want one of these to be like a clone? Because we all grew up, and I think we even made the comment, like, people who love these games making them are now making them, like they grew up influenced by it. And like even somebody here in chat mentioned that they were starting to bring some of the Easter eggs into a book that they're working on. Like, it's a situation where there's an influence that's undeniable about these games. What would you prefer? Somebody to go and tweak a known quantity and fuck up or remix your Pokemon, or somebody to make a spiritual successor to a format that you love so much?
Yeah, and the interesting thing about a lot of these ROM hacks is the ROM hacks are both. You can get that. They run the gamut. There are some, like, there's your Kaizo stuff where we just made Pokemon harder, and now you really have to know your shit to be able to get through these things, or really have to grind a bunch. But then there's also things like these ROM hacks that I'm talking about are these total conversions of we made a whole new map. We made Some of them even have their own Pokemon. I've talked about Pokemon Vega before, and like they made up an entire new cadre of collectible little monsters, and that's pretty cool. That's fun to see some of those things. Some of those things completely go off the rails, but some of them are really interesting too, and do some cool things. So the other Pokemon ROM hack I played after playing Orange, because again I wanted to stay in that Game Boy realm, and I ended up playing Pokemon Brown, which I've later learned is kind of the prototype that a lot of hacks use. Like that was kind of the pioneer of like, hey, holy shit, somebody did a conversion of red. It's not just, hey, we tweaked it so now you always have 99 rare candies, or hey, we made the levels harder, or we allow you to catch Mewtwo in the wild, or something like that. This one said, hey, this guy, the person who made it, made a whole new map, added new Pokemon to it, added new moves, and has continued working on it a lot after it initially released. Yeah, so at this point,
came out originally in 2004.
Yeah, and they just keep adding things to it since. So now this has a bunch of Pokemon from Gens 1 and 2, and I think it also adds a couple others from further gens, but I haven't seen any of those. I've just seen 1 and 2 so far. But it also has changed, Pokemon like Jigglypuff to normal Fairy type. They've added Fairy type stuff in there. This one's added a couple new extra types. There's Gas as a type now, Wood as a type now.
What?
And Abnormal, I think. Oh, and Sound. Yeah. Sound is in there too. So you have Pokemon that even change types a little bit. So Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar, those are Gas Ghosts now. So they're not affected by Psychic in the same way that they were in the original Gen 1. And they're a little bit more viable to use against Psychic Pokemon now, which is pretty cool. Yeah, a Pokemon like Executor went from Grass Psychic to Psychic Wood now, and Wood has slightly different super effective or not effective moves against it. Sound is good against Psychics, which makes sense. You can't keep your concentration. Yeah. So some of that stuff is interesting, and it's kind of fun to use some of these new moves. Like they had to make all new moves for a lot of these sound attacks. But then also they converted some different attacks to these new types. So something like Growl is now a sound move. Or Wind is also a type now. So Gust went from being a flying move to being a wind move. And now it's good against gas. Wind is good against gas. It blows it away. Sure, that makes sense. But it's no longer good against grass. So now you have a Pidgey that learns Gust really early. But it's not useful for beating bug Pokemon or beating grass Pokemon, because that's not what
Which
Wind
Pokemon
does
has
anymore.
the worst gas moves?
Oh, it's Coughing. Absolutely. Coughing and Wheezing. Like those guys are gross.
Gross.
So it's really cool. Yeah. It's got full different 8 gyms. It still uses the same sprites, so you're still like fighting Blaine, but this time he's Joe, and Joe uses normal Pokemon. Like, okay, whatever, that's fine.
Fuck you, Joe.
It's an interesting. It's something that I've stuck with a lot more, because it is definitely better made, better balanced. It does lean a little too much into grinding. Like, I'm fighting gyms with Pokemon that are like level 50, and all my guys are still in like level 30s, because I'm just finding it really hard to find places to gain experience. But yeah, there's a lot of really smart ideas in here. And a lot of things that you'll see with ROM hacks where you have these questions that you kind of have to answer. If you're playing a ROM hack, that usually means you can't trade Pokemon to another copy of a game. So how do you make Pokemon like Alakazam work? Do you level? Is that a level up now? You can people can change that. So like, at level 36, a Kadabra evolves into an Alakazam. This one has a new evolutionary stone called a Trade Stone that you can use on Pokemon like Machoke or Haunter or Kadabra to turn them into those. And just some of these ideas are pretty interesting. And awesome. I kind of like a lot of what it's doing. Let me just end with my team that I'm working on at this point. At this point, I have 6 badges. My team, I picked Charizard to start, or Charmander to start with. He's a Charizard now.
Sure.
I've got a Pidgeot, which I just wanted to... You know what? I've never really used Pidgeot before. I should use Pidgeot. So I got one of those. I've got an Alakazam, which is always one of my favorite Pokemon, and I wanted to test out the Trade Stone, and that's been great. What else do I have? I have a Nidoking, another one of my favorites. I like using Nidoking quite a bit.
And King's good.
Nidoking
is good. I've got a Starmie, which was a real pain in the ass because Staryu doesn't learn any fucking moves, and then Starmie literally doesn't learn any moves. Like Staryu just learns bad moves, but Starmie learns no moves when you give it the Water Stone. So
really,
literally nothing. Which is interesting because you face a lot of Starmies in trainer battles.
Yeah,
but those battles, those Starmies only know the moves that a Starmie would know. Those Starmies, those computer Starmies, don't have any TMs or anything on them. So all they know are Tackle, Harden, and Water Gun. Like those are the only 3 attacks they can use. Which is not great, which means anytime I face a Starmie, it's like, okay, this is free because they really can't do anything to me. But my Starmie has one of my favorite setups, which is Surf, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Psychic, and he's a fucking monster. He's just so good. And then I was kind of playing around with the last spot. I had a Pikachu for a while. I wanted a Mareep really bad so I could get up to Ampharos, but they really save the Gen 2 Pokemon for later. You don't get many opportunities to catch Gen 2 Pokemon very early in the game. But then I found their power plant equivalent in this game. This new region has kind of a power plant in there, and I don't know if it's a 50-50 shot or how exactly it works, but I found the final Pokemon in there, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a Zapdos, because, it's basically the power plant. I've faced Voltorbs and Electrodes in here, similar to the way it works. It's a different map style, but it's the same kind of tiles. And then I get to the end, and it's like, no, this is a Raikou. Like, shit, buddy, you're here in Gen 2. Also, this thing's fucking level 50, and like I said, all my guys are, like, in the 30s, and and I'm like, I'm way too underleveled for any of this shit. But also the nice thing about ROM hacks is you can save scum. So I have a save state right in front of him, and then I was able to manipulate him in different ways. What I really did was just put Starmie up front. Starmie could tank 1 electric attack, and then I just use Ice Beam. And if it didn't freeze him, then I'd die and I'd just reset. Freezing has like a 10% chance of happening, so at one point I froze that motherfucker and then could do whatever I wanted. Yes, it was great.
So I was reading a wiki for this game, for this ROM hack, and certain legendary Pokemon, such as Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, are randomly assigned upon creating a new save file, so that only those generated can be caught in the wild in that save.
Okay, so that must be a spot where it would be either a Zapdos or a Raikou, and I ended up with the Raikou. And that's fine. That's cool. I like Raikou. And now I've got a level 50 to kind of help me bump up against some of these harder fights that I'm starting to get onto. I'm having a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Even though it is very much Pokemon Red. Like you are dealing with having an item bag that gets full. You are dealing with having to go into the computer and switch your boxes to be able to get your Pokemon. Nobody can hold items in this. It is extremely Pokemon Red, which is kind of what I'm looking for. And I'm enjoying that part of it. There is that nostalgia of like, oh yeah, this is janky as hell. Not because the ROM's janky, but because this original game was fucking janky. But I love it. Nice. And that's been kind of fun. The map isn't perfect. I think there's a lot of... It's very easy to get lost in here. There are a bunch of new items in this game that you don't know what to do with, that don't mean anything to you. Like, I got a red amulet. Okay, what do I do with this? Because it doesn't tell you, but at some point I'm going to have to take that to a mountain or something to unlock a new path. It's also just interesting to see how somebody tackles, how do the HMs work? So there are still HMs in this game, but they actually get flipped around, so you still get cut first, But then
Chase, this is the longest description of your 6 Pokemon I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, I think I did my 6, right? Raikou, Charizard, Pidgeot, Starmie, and Alakazam. That's 5. Wait, what's the 6th one?
Right.
Great question.
I thought Raikou was the first one. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I think it's kind of fun. I'm gonna finish it. I think there's even a point where you go to Johto in this game, where it's got like a little. I don't think it has all of Johto in there, but some ROM hacks absolutely do. I've seen ROM hacks that are like, we have Kanto and Johto and Sinnoh in here. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. That's way too much fucking Pokemon for one game. I don't know how anybody would do that, but yeah, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it, and it's nice playing it on my analog.
You got to use your analog pocket, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You checked out Pokemon Orange, which is not so awesome, but
No.
Pokemon Brown, which is kind of the foundation of which these hacks were built.
Seems like it, yeah.
And this one seems to be winning your favor.
I think even I found a blog post or like a Reddit thread that Twitch plays Pokemon.
Yeah.
Twitch plays Pokemon, but I think whoever runs that ended up deciding, you know what, they ran out of the original Pokemon games, the real ones, and so then they started going for other ones, and Pokemon Brown, I believe, has been featured on a Twitch Plays Pokemon before. Nice. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, if Pokemon wasn't going to get Chase's blood flowing, it would probably have to do with Gundam next. And it's very rare where you will hear me willingly want to A, talk about Gundam, B, want to play with them. But I got into that network test for Gundam Evolution, and of course, I needed to bring Chase along to get that inside baseball knowledge of what the fuck was happening with it. So what I will say is that you can go to youtube.com/casualhour right now, and you can watch our quick look.
Not right now. I'd wait.
Yeah, after.
We're doing like a show right now. But
yeah, after the show. Go watch that video where Chase and I play through a couple matches, or at least a match. Not even a full match, a couple rounds, not a full match, of Gundam Evolution.
We play some of the video game.
We play a little bit of it. We open a lot of boxes. So this is that, it's basically Overwatch and Gundam. And I don't want to...
Sounds like a cool concept to me.
It is cool. We don't know when this game comes out. We don't know what it's going to cost. We do know Bandai Namco is making it. We do know it's going to have a battle pass.
I think they've said this year.
Just 2022.
We don't specifically know when, yeah.
They've ran 2 network tests now for the PC version. Chase had mentioned on the quick look that there's one coming for the console version. They haven't announced it, but they have on their website, when they're showing the network test, there's a section that has console. So nice. If they didn't do one, it would be really, really weird that they set it up that way. So I imagine eventually for that. Yeah. I don't know if anything carries over from the network test to the full release, but if you do get a chance to go into it, they give you a decent amount of in-game currency and enough to buy 2 Gundams in the game. They're about 2,000, whatever the Gundam currency is, and they give you 4,000. So it's basically wanting you to go through the paces and check it out. But it is one of those things. So, you press F1 on the keyboard, you're going to see all the 3 movesets that your character has. Each one has different abilities. I don't know how accurate it is to what you would expect from the Gundam, and Chase might be a better resource here, but does that Gundam moveset match what that Gundam does in the anime or the shows or the books, whatever that would be? Like, those are things I can't answer, but it was neat.
I think for the most part, they have some nice nods to the different animes and different mechs to make things kind of true to what they'd be. Like, this is the kind of beam rifle that this Gundam would use, or this machine is able to transform and fly a little bit, and there's definitely a lot of love in there. But at the same time, they're going for this kind of Overwatch style game, and they're putting together a lot of machines that would have never seen each other, either because they're from different eras or because they're from different universes entirely. Like there's the Turn A Gundam is in there, which is fantastic. That's amazing that the Turn A is in there at all, because that's not usually a very popular one to see stuff come out for. And it's right along next to the Iron Blooded Orphans Barbatos, which is something that takes place in an entirely different universe. And it's so if you're going for absolute realism, this game is not for you. But also, Gundam's not real.
Unfortunately,
I'm sorry to be the one to say that. I know I'm wearing the shirt, but Gundam's not real.
No, they built one in Japan.
They've built multiple in Japan, Johnny. There's a number of life-size.
There you go.
And
they are real.
They're real to me. It's still real to me. Damn it.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like it's Super Robot Wars thing. You want
sure, yeah. I mean, it's this is what you want. You want to see all the fun toys come and fight each other. And what Bobby really hasn't said, though, I mean, you said it's Overwatch meets Gundam, but it's just Overwatch. It's just Overwatch, but they put a Gundam skin on it, and that's fine. That's a great game to rip off. Like, that's good on them for doing that.
They have on the network test that we did. We only saw one, but there's 3 match types that you can check out currently. I don't know if they're going to add more in, but they are definitely pulling from. I mean, it's Overwatch, and if you like Overwatch, you'll love this. If you like Gundam, you'll probably find a reason to like this. It was interesting when I saw it because, like, I think one of the cool things about Gundam are obviously the look that they have, and being a first-person game, you don't really get to see yourself, even though there's a bunch of skins that you can get not only for your Gundam but for your gun. There's even like weapon
and
charms.
Those work just like you'd see in Overwatch, where there are skins, there are emotes, there are sprays, that kind of shit. But then also the same economy style that Overwatch has, where you're opening the loot boxes, but if you get something that you already have, then it goes into a different currency that you can use to buy the skin you want outright.
We got a pretty badass skin because of that.
You did.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I don't know if the network test changes the amount of currency you get or the amount of experience you get for these loot boxes to come out more, but more than what it will for the final game. But it seemed like you were getting quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot there
with not little effort, but it seemed appropriate, the amount of stuff you're getting.
So a couple things that I'd like to know about the game as we wrap up here on Gundam Evolution is I would assume, I think it should be a free-to-play game, but what do I know? It might cost some money to get into. I think free-to-play makes sense, and I would like to know, is this going to have cross-play? Because I think that would be really cool also. But I will definitely check this out when it comes out. We talked about hopping into a few matches, and Johnny, I know that you really liked Overwatch back in 2016, and I know that you like Gundam. I think you'll find a lot to like about that. So that's the Gundam Evolution network test. I think there'll be some more.
There is one small bummer I had with the game, which is I think the maps are kind of bad. Maybe the map design is, or the map, like the actual gray box. Hey, this is how it looks. This is how it feels. But from just the way it looks, not a big fan. You get no sense of scale. Like, these are supposed to be giant fucking robots, but you're in these environments that don't really give you any sense of scale.
Maybe it feels like you're more like a toy.
Sure, or just like a person. Like, these things just feel like people. It just feels like regular Overwatch or Call of Duty running around some of these places where I want to show me a building that's like this high and like my Gundam standing next to it. So you're like, holy shit, these Gundams are huge. But it's all just these military facilities that are built to be scale with the Gundam. So it's like,
felt big.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm walking up a ramp, but like, is that ramp? How big does this ramp have to be? But because you don't see any like Jeep next to it or like a plane going down it or anything.
Yeah, nothing to emphasize how gargantuan these things are.
They feel real boring compared to something that you might see in like Gundam Battle Operation 2 or Gundam Extreme Versus. Like those things, those games take place in environments that make you feel like you're in a fucking giant robot, and this one doesn't. But it plays awesome, so that's a trade-off that you get.
It looks like there's not crossplay.
Okay, well, there's that. Okay, so that's the Gundam Evolution network test hot take from Bobby and Chase. I've got a few other things I'll be brief with here. I finally got around to checking out a game called In Other Waters. This comes from Jump Over the Age. It was published by Fellow Traveler. $15 right now on Steam and Switch. Came out back in 2020. This is a looker of a video game. You might be hearing a little bit about Jump Over the Age. They've got a game coming out in a few weeks called Citizen Sleeper that looks very fucking cool. And
Really excited for that one.
Yeah, man. Like, that's really what said you should go back and check that game out. You wanted to. When I realized that they were the same developer, I'm like, I should just do this. I'm playing this on PC. This is a hyper stylistic, narrative driven, almost like a text-based adventure. There's some minimal input that you're doing while you're exploring it. So you are playing as an artificial intelligence that is communicating with a stranded doctor who is diving on an alien planet looking for new alien life. And the storytelling is just phenomenal. The writing is very good. It's not super text heavy. A lot of it is more atmospheric, but the way that you're interacting as this artificial intelligence with this underworld environment while this incredible score is happening has added so much mood and emotion into things. And the music will swell up when there's been a few moments either at your base or exploring. So you are trying to find another scientist that it seems like you had maybe a bit, the diver doctor had a bit more of a relationship with beyond professional. And so as you're exploring, you are looking at a map through this really cool, like flat designed interface that would have just very nondescript, minimalistic buttons that you'll be interacting with that are monitoring your ability to, hey, I've moved the cursor to this point of the map. Oh, there's something here that you can take a sample of. And then there's a small little mechanism that you'll turn a dial and hone in on what that is. But when you start to get these samples, some of them have the ability to interact with things on the map. So a lot of the map is just going to be lines, some different shading that you'll see. But so far, any alien life that I've encountered has been represented by dots that are moving in patterns or different sizes. And sometimes they're blocking a pathway. Well, one of these things that you can harvest creates a shriek noise that if you shoot towards this alien life, it causes them to spread, and then you make a pathway to take your thing through. There's another one that causes them to grow back together, so maybe there's a strong current coming and you need to block that current so you can move. So there's a little bit of gameplay mechanics that go into that, but I'm finding it incredibly interesting in how you're doing this. And one of the things that I like is there's basically, when you come back to your base, you can put these samples that you're taking into something, and there's like 4 stages. And if you get to the 4th stage of research, a sketch pops up. And so in my head, like, they describe what it is, and you're looking at things like the behavior of it. I'm trying to like make out what this thing's going to look like, and then that payoff that you get with it. I did buy the DLC for it. This was a Kickstarter project, and one of the stretch goals, I think, was essentially this visualization of the game, where it's almost like a companion book that has all these sketches of all the plant life and everything in it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they have a complete version that's on sale right now, so you can get the soundtrack, the game, and that for $25. So I ended up going back and I downloaded that, and I got this companion book that goes along with it, so I can see some of the artwork for it.
Is the companion book also in this kind of limited color palette that the game has? Like, the game, looking at the visuals of this thing, it's a 4-color palette, and sometimes they'll change those palettes, but it's always 4-color, and it's really striking to look at. So the book is all in that same kind of style.
Yeah, and there's some parts where you're going to go pretty deep into some things where, like, it goes to blacks, grays, and oranges, but it does change. So that's a really cool thing, that you are interacting in a 3-dimensional space in this game, but it's very flat for you. So colors are what's representing. So like, maybe you go down a little bit darker green and you're like, okay, I just went down a level. I'm hot off the heels of Norco, and really loved what it was doing from like the point and click adventure. This is just a really awesome science fiction story. It's a really cool setting. There's a neat element of discovery, but there's also a lot of mystery. There are some cool things like you can upgrade your suit, so you're doing some research now, and like I don't want to spoil what it is, but I'm able to do a little bit more traversal stuff now on that suit, or help that doctor do more of that. But this has me even more excited for Citizen Sleeper and what this developer is capable of. So, In Other Waters, it came out April of 2020. I wish I would have played it sooner, but I'm happy I'm playing it now. Switch and PC. Definitely check it out. $15 standalone, $25 right now on Steam for the whole kit and caboodle there.
Not too bad.
I also really like this orientation. This always top down. This kind of you're always looking through what's like a rangefinder kind of thing. Something I played through. Oh God, why am I going to forget the name? The game where you're a diver.
Subnautica?
No. The one that feels more like Journey.
Abzu.
But you're on Abzu. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, I caught it as you were saying it. So like I love Abzu, but there is, I don't know if it's a phobia exactly, but there's just I don't love swimming around in deep water.
I get that.
In real life and also not in video games. I saw Jaws like everybody else, and it fucked me up forever. So when I play a game like Abzu or watch a game like Subnautica, I have not played Subnautica. There is just that lingering fear that, oh fuck, some shark's gonna come and fuck me up at this point.
Subnautica definitely will fuck you up.
Yeah, for sure. And even like the Far Cry games where you can go swimming. Far Cry 3, you definitely would fight some fucking sharks. Fuck those fucking sharks. So having this kind of be abstracted where it is always this top-down view and you're kind of looking through machinery instead of being in that 3D space. I like the look of this, and I also think that I could get through this without having to worry too much about seeing something come out of the murky shadows and murk me. So that, yeah, this thing's really cool. I would like to play this. And you did say it's on Switch.
It's on Switch. And
so that's something I've added to my wish list.
I think it should play pretty well there. I don't think there'll be a problem at all to do that. So cool. That's a cool game. Another cool game is a game called Stacklands that came out April 8th of this year. It's currently on Steam. It's from a development studio called Sokpop, Sokpop. And this is a really interesting take on a village building game. So this is an awesome kind of hand-drawn card. It's a deck builder. And imagine like if you had something that would look a little bit like Solitaire in a way. You can stack your cards up that way, but you have a lot more free form on how you organize your cards while you're playing it. But you are progressing to get different packs that cost coins that allow you to get things like trees, bushes, stone, soil, and then there's animals. There's also going to be some baddies that come through on that. But let's say that you have a tree card. Well, you can place your villager card on top of your tree card, and then that is going to break out and give you potentially sticks or an apple. There are hunger meters, so like after every so many days you have to feed your villagers. It's 2 items of food, so you want to make sure that like, hey, I have an apple tree, I need to be harvesting apples, so I have a stack of apples that can feed the villagers. If you build a house, you can put 2 villagers in the house, then you get a baby. If you leave the baby in the house, the baby becomes a villager.
Oh, that's how they're made. I see.
That's how they're made. It's a very clever game. But what I want to call out is Sokpop, I found out, does some really cool stuff. So a lot of their games come off of a Patreon. And you can pay them $3 a month. And they put out a new game every month. So for $3, you're going to get
I was looking at their Steam page, and they've got like 94 games that they put out. It's crazy.
Yeah. So what's happened, though, is that this game has really taken off for them. And they have said, they did an update on Steam where they're like, I'll just read it here. Where we release a new game every month, we release a lot of games, so most of our games don't really get any updates. They're kind of one and done. However, because Stacklands was so well received, we're going to start working on content updates. We're planning to release multiple updates that slowly introduce new content. This will probably be released between mid-May and the end of June. And for every update, we're aiming to add 50 to 100 cards. And after these updates, Stacklands will move to version 2.0. Most likely, we will also increase the price of this game after that, kind of like what Minecraft did. So the game's $5 right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool concept. It's a very neat game. It's a nice, fresh take on that genre. $5 on Steam. We're going to quick look at for sure.
Like you said, though, looking through Sock Pop's stuff, I feel like I've heard the name before or heard somebody talk about one of these games specifically. But I'm just going down this list, and the list keeps going. There's so much stuff in here, and a lot of it looks really cool. Actually, there's a game that they just recently featured on Giant Bomb, Flipper Volcano,
Cool.
that was also made by them. These people seem cool, and I think maybe the coolest thing, maybe this is just for me as the guy who doesn't have a Steam Deck yet, but all of these games are showing up on PC and Mac.
Nice.
They're playable both. And to have a developer that is dedicated to, one, making a new fucking game every month, and two, making sure that it works on both those platforms is a really cool thing. Is there like a pack where I just give them all my money and they give me all the games?
I don't know.
They do have that. It's $189.
That's maybe more than I want to spend, but
They also have a strategy bundle for $32.
Well, there you go. Now we're talking.
And then $3 will get you a guaranteed game a month, right?
But but I imagine that's going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I talked about Gundam Evolution Network Test. I talked about In Other Waters, and then we just wrapped up talking about Stacklands. All very good games that you should check out. Johnny.
Yeah. Speaking of good games, people should check out.
We're going to keep talking about good games. A banger of a game.
Yeah. I bought TOEM right after Game of the Year last year because it was one of the ones that you guys really loved and I knew I would enjoy as well. It was just I didn't get around to it last year.
And which is a shame because it's only like 3 or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we even brought it up as like, oh, it'd be nice if you could just like sneak that one in. I get it. It's tough. It's tough finding time, but
so it's been sitting on my Switch. And I was looking at my Switch the other day at the games that I had installed on there, and it's like, fuck, I got Chicory in here, I got TOEM. I played a little bit of Chicory, I know what that's about. TOEM sounded really cool, so let's give this a go. Let's see what TOEM has to say. And it turns out it is so dang wholesome and just warm fuzzies. Like all the little characters you're interacting with are incredibly charming and get so excited when you take the photo that they ask you to take.
Lots of good little animations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm at
while you're pulling that up, there's an update, like a big one coming out for that game.
Really?
Yep. And they're calling it a giant quality of life update. So like even being able to move your stamps around after you place them is a big one, which I think is cool. They highlight a few other things. So if you haven't completed it yet, I would maybe double check and see when that is, because it might make things smoother. There's a few other things with the way that you take photos too that are going to be improved.
Okay.
On that.
So I've made it to Stanham, which is like the port town.
Okay.
And I've done 9 of the 15 challenge or stamps in Oaklaville. So I was going to check out Stanham a little bit, head back to Oaklaville, finish up what I didn't get done there.
Sure.
But man, I started that 2-3 nights ago, and I've just been playing in little pieces here and there, and it's an absolute delight. And I'm mad at myself that I didn't play it last year.
We're also mad at you.
Yeah, man.
I got the tripod so I can take cool pictures.
Sure. Yeah. It looks really good on that OLED Switch.
It does. It's how I've been playing it. It's just been in handheld mode, and the color scheme that they have for the game just really pops on that OLED display.
The color scheme black and white.
Yes. It's 3D. Like, they do cool stuff.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
They're doing really cool stuff with the limitations that they've set for themselves.
This game's got great contrast. Like, yeah, it's 2 colors. That's
very, very bright.
I hate you both. I think my favorite thing I've done so far is I found the 4, I don't know if they're porcupines or what, but the 4 brothers that move the log out of the way so you can climb up the mountain and take a picture of the hotel.
Yeah.
And you take it to the guy and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm going to frame this right now." And he puts it up on the wall right there. I got the sunglasses.
Oh yeah.
So I had the swag so I could get into that party with all the bears, which reminded me, I don't know if you guys have watched Adventure Time, but there's a part in Adventure Time where there's a club and it's just a bunch of bears dancing at like a rave, and it reminded me of that a little bit.
Have you tried going back home?
Not yet.
So whenever you go back home, there's a picture frame in there, and you can frame whatever photo you want.
Oh, cool.
Which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to do that. Yeah, I'm really liking it. And
Pokemon Snap could learn a lot from this game.
It really could.
It really could have.
Pokemon Snap is just so deeply disappointed, and I get more disappointed in it every day.
I haven't thought about that game.
Me either.
And so long, and that's just bumming me out now. Yeah, and I've been chipping away at Horizon. Playing. I haven't played any more Norco since last week, but I'm going to play more of that. Finish that up.
Have you met a guy that eats a hot dog yet?
In Norco?
Yeah.
No, I haven't played since we talked last week.
Okay.
That
game's literally is like 4.5 hours.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get through it.
Let's not wait until next year, like you are in TOEM. Fucking beat that game so we can talk.
I'm gonna beat it. Okay, I've been reading a lot of like actual books the last couple of weeks, and it's been taking away from my video game time.
Oh yeah, man.
I'm sorry, everybody. He's been reading books.
That's not even how I said
it.
Mr. Genius over there with his high IQ.
Are you just reading them in your garage?
What?
Yeah, your library garage.
Are you just in your library reading them?
Dude, there's just a stack of wood out in the garage waiting to be turned into a shed right now. So
yeah, there's another stack of something else out there too. I'm sure.
It's a stack of books that Johnny's read. They're all on the return pile.
Yes, look at me, the intellectual who reads.
These heathens and fucking dolts playing video games. My big brain is reading books. You idiots.
You guys, like you both.
Mr. Literature over there.
So Johnny, on top of
call me the professor,
the intellectual horsepower that he is, has been playing
That's right.
William fucking Shakespeare
and Horizon and War and Peace, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about Ulysses.
Shit. I read The Road, and I'm reading Blood Meridian, both by Cormac.
I didn't really care what you were reading, but I also knew that you were reading those things we've talked.
A few weeks ago, I was supposed to do a deep dive, and we had done our deep dives in a fashion where, like, hey, every few weeks in the month we're going to do a deep dive. We were trying to rotate it as a group of hosts here, and it's great. And you know what? That format might come back in some way, shape, or form in future episodes. But we decided that, like, our approach to what a deep dive is could be a little more flexible, and there might be.
Bobby decided he was too lazy to do a deep dive, so he wanted to change the whole format. That's what happened.
And
we're smarter, not harder.
It's going to be a deep dish.
Yes.
It's just going to be the three of us on camera eating deep dish pizza.
Yes.
Going back to our roots, we'll hit up the CCs. We'll fuck it up.
So one of the things that we had talked about was just like,
hey, fuck us up.
Yes.
Yeah, little column A, little column B.
Could we do, like, what if there was a game that we really wanted to do like a post-mortem on and talk a little bit more at length with and like really break down, like we could do something like that. There has been other times where, like, we've done more journalistic approaches, like Johnny has wrote absolute novels because he likes to read them so much on Bungie. Chase is amazing at going into the archives and getting some really cool stuff for show and tell. We had one.
It works great on an audio podcast.
Yes.
Works great on audio, but we all had a classic Game Informer magazine that we got to pull articles from and talk about, which was a ton of fun. I had just said like, hey, like we could share our fondest memories on something like a midnight launch, and that kind of stuck. And that also had us talking a little bit off pod just about what those are today and if they are even. So tonight we wanted to share some stories. We asked on Twitter, and we got a little response from our friend Jiggy there as well on like, hey, what is your favorite memories for this? So if you are in chat and you wanted to sound off about like maybe an experience that you had with a midnight launch, good, bad, or for better or worse, sound off, let us know. We're going to share a little bit of our stories there on this deep dive as we talk about midnight launches. But moving forward, we'll still have the deep dive. It might just look a little bit different than what it has in the past.
Yeah, I think it's just evolved a little bit to allow it to be more freeform at this point. We certainly might go back to some of the old style ones if we want to. I do really like the idea of one of us bringing something to teach the other two about. Those have been fun. I also really like the ones where all three of us participate in things. But tweaking this to be a little bit more topic-based generally, I think allows us more freedom to just kind of have fun conversations for a podcast. Also to talk about a bigger range of things. One of the things that happens when you do a podcast like this weekly is that it is very easy to get caught up in the grind. Mm-hmm. It's easy to... We've talked about this before, we feel like we have to play the new games because those are the ones people want to hear about. Those are the ones that are in the news. So we need to keep up with that. And I think Bobby actually does probably the best job of any of us of keeping up with a lot of those titles. And there's almost a guilt by me going and saying, ooh, maybe I want to play a Pokemon ROM hack. But is that really current? But it's different, and that's fun. And I like being able to talk about different things on the show. And I think the way we're going to be continuing deep dives going forward is going to allow for more of those kinds of fun and interesting conversations that make this a show I like doing every week.
Oh yeah, and we got a few new people that have followed tonight while we've been recording, but like we all have a lot of shit outside of the show that we do. Johnny is a family man. He reads a lot of books.
All those books. Yeah.
All those books. Chase.
They're not going to read themselves.
No, of course not. We'll talk about
he's grabbing a book. Oh, he's got a book.
There he is. Fucking nerd. Wow. But Chase also has another podcast called Gamers on the Go. He talked about the Nuzlocke with Chasey K's Plays. I try and run our socials and the show and the artwork and all that shit. So like we all got stuff outside of like our 9-to-5 jobs and family and friends that we do. And as Chase mentioned,
we're multifaceted.
We got a lot of donuts to eat. All those things.
Donuts.
So
this is basically the onion hour because we're like onions. We got layers.
Hell yeah. So I'm gonna kick us off tonight with a story about a midnight launch, if that's okay with you two.
Let's do it,
please.
I had started working at a place called Goodies, which Goodies
Sam
is,
Goodies.
Was that did they drop the Sam at some point, or is this a different thing?
Was this
This is
is this the restaurant Goodies?
No.
Okay.
This is like the Wish.com JC Penney, if that tells you anything.
Okay.
It was, like one of my second jobs, if that. I was just starting college, and it was easy part-time work that like it was a job that like I just fucked around with. Anyway, I ended up making friends with a few folks there that were into video games. And at this point in my life, like I had been growing up playing a lot of video games, but I had primarily PlayStation and Nintendo, and I had not experienced Halo at this point in time. And they were huge Halo fans. So I started hanging out with these guys outside of work. I ended up getting an old Xbox, and this was around the time that it would have been, when did Halo 2 come out? What year was that?
2005.
Okay, yeah. So I just started college, and they were like, we need to get you caught up because Halo 2 is coming out and it's going to change everything. It's going to be a big fucking deal. So like I start playing Halo with these guys, doing some LAN parties, all that shit. And growing up in Southern Illinois, there was no place around that did midnight launches or had things. So I had to go back over here towards St. Louis, but we would usually stop in Fairview Heights.
Go to town, as they say.
Go to town. I had to go to town. So I'm they're like, hey, we're gonna come pick you up, and we're gonna head over there. It'll be a great time. This kid had a fucking like 90s model Civic. He pulls up.
Yeah, this is all tracking.
And Muse is just blaring out of this car.
Okay.
As I walk out of my parents' house. And this guy had went and got like the fucking
Knights of Sidonia, just
yes, all that
playing
shit. Whatever that stuff is that you write on your windows, like just married. Like,
or
just,
like
yeah,
graduated.
Like,
yeah.
He didn't tell any of us who was doing it. He fucking went to town on his car with Halo shit. And it was like it said Halo or bust on the back of the fucking car.
Hell yeah.
Like, I mean, it was like serious. Like, it wasn't like ironic, like doing this. He was like, this.
He put some time into this.
He put some time into it. It's like I get in the car, I'm fucking excited. I'm smoking like a Black and Mild or some like a clove or some stupid shit.
A Jar and Black, maybe.
Yeah. Smoking one of those things. And
these like taste, these a sweet taste in your lips, and it crackles when you smoke it.
So we're gonna go to the Fairview Heights Mall where there was a GameStop. We're going to get our copies of Halo 2. What was wild was what you started the show off with, Johnny. We fucking saw the hot donut sign when we pulled into Fairview Heights.
Sounds like the best night ever.
We knew that we were going to be in line for a while, so we go and get a couple dozen hot donuts. And we show up, and dude, I kid you not, this line had wrapped around the outside of the mall because we weren't allowed inside until the doors open. It went around Macy's. It went down past. I mean, there was hundreds of people surrounding this mall to buy this video game. And we show up, boxes of donuts in tow, and immediately people are like, oh my God, you got Krispy Kreme, can I have one? So we like start giving out some donuts to people who are at the back of the line with us, and we're shooting the shit. Everybody's talking about like what they want from the game, and they're talking about their strats and all that shit. And of course, that leads to other conversations around other games, and at this point in time, like future states of consoles and what that's going to be. It was just a really fucking cool moment. So we all go in, we get our games, and the plan was to like come back to my house, which my dad was a graveyard shift factory worker. I had a younger brother. My mom was a school teacher. But I had like, we're just coming back to my house, and we're all going to just show up at this point in time. So Fairview Heights is also like an hour-ish away from where I grew up. So by the time we get our game, we're really hitting the road around 1 a.m, heading back to start playing these games. And the guy's like, hey, I'm going to take this back route. There'll be less traffic, which is like an old Highway 4 or something like that, to get home. He's like, we'll be able to just fucking floor it and cut some time off. I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. We still had a few leftover donuts. We're going to do this. We fucking get pulled over. Fucking this good old boy cop sitting out here in bumfuck Egypt. This Civic blaring Muse at like 1 a.m. goes by. And this cop's walking up to us. And again, like nobody's like drinking or smoking. We weren't doing any of that shit. We're just a bunch of fucking dorks high off fucking Krispy Kreme and Halo. And he like walks up to the car. He's got his flashlight out, and he sees all the shit that we have written all over the car. And so he's now like inspecting, like, what the fuck's a grunt? What's all
the hell's a Halo?
That's exactly what he said. He goes, what the hell's a Halo? You boys going to church? And I'm like, trying to. Trying to.
Church of Xbox.
Trying to worship at the altar of Master Chief, bro.
He's like looking at all of us. My dumbass, being the 18-year-old that I was, 19-year-old, was like, hey man, you want a donut? Like, not even thinking into it.
Wow. Good job, Bobby.
But I was just trying to like break the ice, you know. And
oh, you did.
I did.
You broke it all right.
And like he shot me a fucking look. But he's like, well, what are you in a hurry to do? Or like play a video game. He's like, what? He's like, where are you coming from? We're like, GameStop. And we had to like explain to a cop at
Sure.
1 a.m. on the side of a highway in fucking rural Illinois.
Yeah, I'm sure he's like, what are you talking about? The GameStop is closed, you dumb
Right.
kids.
And we're trying to explain like what we were doing and why it was a fucking thing. And he was so bewildered that like we had done something this dumb. And it was just fucking wild. So the kid got a ticket, which sucked because he was going like 90. Which really fucking sucks. And like he was so defeated, like he didn't even want to play Halo. I fucking hate this. Well, all right, man. So
Enjoy that ticket.
Yeah, are you coming over? So anyway, we get back to my house. It's fucking ruckus. My mom comes out there, and my mom, being the sweet woman she is, she's like, "Do you boys need anything?" I'm like, "Mom, no, we're playing Halo." And like, it was.
She's not asleep?
We woke her ass up, and she offered to give us something. We were loud, dude. We ate like 30 fucking donuts. We got pulled over, got a ticket, and we had Halo 2. Like, I was gyrating. So,
Okay.
that
You can be
was
vibrating, I hope, but
no, I was jittering and gyrating.
okay.
Okay, man.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if
was
any of
just
mine are as
grinding
exciting
on
as
Fred.
that.
Yeah, like I can't really.
That should have been the
beat that
closer.
for Halo. I mean, I've been to 3 midnight launches in my life. 2 of them were for Halo games. So I also went for Halo 2. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was my first midnight launch. That would have been November 9th, 2004, if Google tells me correct. That was a Tuesday night, morning, I guess.
So, yeah.
So, like, Bobby said he was in college. I was a freshman in high school at the time, so I had to have my parents drive me to the Slackers CDs and Games in
Hell
Columbia,
yeah.
Missouri. And they didn't know what the hell was happening. And
Why
I
is
told-
my son
It's
dragging me out of the
we're
house? in the
taking
middle
you
of the night?
where at when? And I explained like it's a midnight launch. This is what happens, and it was very much like the conversation you must have had with that cop, except there was no threat of ticket.
Uh-huh.
Right.
I had a
And-
similar conversation with my mom.
And they're finally
But-
like, okay, if this is that important to you, sure. I mean, it's a school night, and they're like, I know, and they're both teachers, so they're like, this is bad. We shouldn't do this, but they're like, I guess if you really care. So I stood in that line. It was fun. The staff were out there. You know, they did trivia stuff for Halo. They were throwing out lanyards to people, Halo-themed lanyards to people who got their trivia questions right. And you know, everybody was just electric. Of like, oh man, I can't. You make friends in the line, and people are just talking about Halo and what they've seen of 2 at that point, and what they think's going to happen, and all that was really neat. And you know, you got the game, and as soon as I got my hands on my copy, I'm like, all right, we can go home. And they're like, you okay? It seems like people are kind of partying around here, or like hanging out and talking more. I'm like, no, I know, it's school night. We got to get home. And so when we got home, I'm like, you're not gonna let me play this now, right? And they're like, oh fuck no, you're going to bed. You got school tomorrow. So I went immediately to bed, and then I didn't even get to play it the next morning because you know I've got to get ready and I got to go to school. But what I did do is take the instruction manual out.
of course.
And I brought the instruction manual to school, and that was the coolest thing. Like all the guys are around me at lunchtime, and we're going through. And that instruction booklet had like what the Covenant races were called in their own language. So not just like they're the elites, but they're also what was it like the Sangheili or something to that effect. And so we're just going through all the information and like, oh, who's the arbiter, and we're just listening, or just like, oh, we're so fucking excited. You know, that was day after, but man, that was maybe the coolest thing at the time. Man, this is cool. I want to do something like that again. And then you know, I didn't do it until Modern Warfare 2 came out.
It's
okay.
I mean,
Was that in 07? That was
Modern
07,
Warfare
right?
2?
Yeah. So, Call of Duty 4 was 05, I think.
2009 was
Oh,
Modern
9.
Warfare.
Shit. Okay. Never mind. So I distinctly remember when Halo 2 came out because the day after there was a sports banquet in my high school that I had to attend because I was on the soccer team, and my friend John was like nodding off at the table, and it's because he'd been up literally the entire night before playing Halo 2, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so tired. I took a bunch of fucking no-dos so I could stay up." I was like, "Okay, cool." So one of the most memorable launches for me was a little bit later. Is Halo Reach. So we all have a Halo. I never.
God damn it, my other story is Halo Reach.
I didn't have an Xbox, so I didn't get deep into Halo myself until after Halo 3 had come out in 2007. So Halo Reach was my first going to a Halo launch experience. And, I'm in my 20s, so it's not like high school where, you're going to school the next day to talk to the guys about the game. Right. But I went with my cousin, and there was this guy behind us in line, and I don't know who said what first, but they got into this debate the entire time we were in line about who could kill the Incredible Hulk.
Oh my God.
And
sure,
at the end of it, I wanted to fucking scream because it's these two nerds just, yeah, but what if, no, but then he's got this, and then like it's just going over my head, and I felt like a prisoner, like I was trapped there because I wanted Halo, but I also wanted them to shut the fuck up.
I mean, you could have just gotten in between them and said, "Batman with prep." There you go. It's done. We're done.
And then, oh man, then they got Marvel versus DC, and
actually, the real answer is Goku. You should have just said Goku.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, Goku.
Okay. So yeah, I don't have any like super exciting stories from midnight launches. It's more just like I went there, I got the game, and came home.
Yeah.
Bobby's story is
pretty hard to beat.
Yeah.
I've got two others. One of them's really quick. So I like I said, Modern Warfare 2 is my next one. That was 2009. So that
was wild. I went to that one.
Freshman in college, I think. Freshman or maybe sophomore at that point.
Yeah.
I think sophomore, because I think I was out of the dorm at that point. So I was talking to my friends, and we're just hanging out that night, and I mentioned, like, oh yeah, I got the pre-order for Call of Duty. I guess I'll pick that up tomorrow, and maybe we can play that. And they're like, what are you talking about? There's a midnight launch. Okay. And they're like, yeah, we should just go. We should just go, and then we can get the game now and play it now. I guess, sure, yeah, why not? So we went, and we're at the GameStop in the mall, and that was kind of cool, because, otherwise the mall was just completely fucking empty and dark. And it was only this one path. It felt like somebody was doing a drug deal, the way like they had this one door open in kind of an alley of the mall where it's like, no, you come in here and the video games are in here. So there's a small group that's staying outside this GameStop. And the only really funny thing that happened then is that as we're in line, everybody's getting their copies of the game, and the guy right in front of me was like, can I also make a pre-order for Assassin's Creed 2? Because that was coming out the next week. And the GameStop employee's like, no, what? No! We're here to give you this game, and then you get the fuck out of here. He's like, oh,
they
okay.
had it rough.
I thought I could do it.
When I go there, they would do like a call, like a last call, like, hey, if you make any other pre-orders, you need to do it before blank time.
Yeah. I think there was just a small enough group where they were like, we need to get these people out of here so we can all go home.
Yeah.
And so this one guy's just slowing down the line. Like, we're just not.
Man. I had a real heart in a throat moment after the PS4 launch. So that was obviously like, I'm a full grown man, and me and Bobby go pick up our PS4s, I bring it home, trying to be quiet because my that was that 2013? Is that when that came out?
Your wife could take a page out of your book.
What?
I'm trying to be quiet.
Damn.
Cool.
I will look up when the PlayStation 4 came out.
It's 2013, right? It was November 2013.
It was 20. It was not 2013. It was 2012.
No, it wasn't.
It is 2013.
Told you. Because it was, my son was a new, 6 months old at this point, or close to a year. And so I'm quietly trying to open the package, and I get it all taken out. I put it up on the shelf. Thing won't fucking boot. And
I remember this.
Right?
I was like, oh no. Oh no. Because I was like, my kid still wakes me up in the middle of the night. I'm losing sleep regardless. And I had to put it into recovery mode. And I think I had to download firmware or something off of Sony's website. It was that shit had just been live for an hour online. And thankfully I was able to get it up and running again. But I was so downtrodden in that moment. I was like, I stayed up. God damn it. I was just cursing up a storm. And
how well did we know each other in 2013? I mean, you two knew each other, but
yeah,
I don't know. Were you working at Boxing Clever by that point?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if I was working or not.
That's when we met. Is when you started working there.
Johnny and I had been friends for 4 years at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even since because when I was working with your wife, you barely came in, and we didn't really talk to you very much when you did.
Can't blame you there.
Because
I remember the first extensive conversation I remember having with you was outside of the library downtown.
I can see that. It's right there.
About Phantom Pain.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5. I remember.
And Giant Bomb. I was like, oh, okay, this Chase guy doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah. Man, I
really. And Misty was like, no, Chase is the worst. Don't become friends with him.
Yeah, but she was saying it loud. Well, okay, I was gonna say she's saying it loud enough that I could hear, but she was just being loud. She wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. She was trying to hide it, but it didn't work because she's loud.
I thought she was the loudest person I knew, and then my son was born, and he's.
Okay, I've got one more. So Johnny mentioned where he was for Halo Reach.
I'll go later on, I guess.
What? Yeah, why don't you finish it up?
Okay.
So you start, you'll bookend it.
Right.
Do you know bookends? Johnny knows what bookends are. They hold all his books together. Johnny mentioned Halo Reach. And I also was doing something on September 14th, 2010, which would have been a month before my birthday. So this is my birthday gift to myself to do this. And I thought, okay, I'm bored that night. I didn't even have a pre-order for Halo Reach. I knew that it was coming out. I knew that I was probably going to buy it, but I was just bored that night. And I was like, I want to go do something. I need to just get out of my college home, wherever the fuck I was at that point. So I got out. I was just kind of driving around. I thought, you know what? I guess I could do Halo Reach comes out tonight. Maybe I could get a midnight launch, but it's like 9:30 or whatever right now. Fuck, it's kind of. What do I do? How do I waste enough time? I'm not going to go. If I go home at this point, I'm going to bed. So right. I need to find something to do that keeps me awake and out of my apartment or out of my house. I can't remember. Again, I don't know where I was living at the time. And I looked on my phone, and there was a movie starting at 9:30, and I'm just like, you know what? Great. Let's go watch a movie. And by the time that's over, it'll probably be about time to go pick up a copy. And I saw George Clooney's The American, which is fine. It's a fine film. It's okay. But one of the interesting things about The American is that it's a very lonely movie. It's about him in like an Italian villa, and he makes weapons, and he's always worried that somebody's tailing him or going to find him and kill him for something. So the movie is just him walking down these quiet Italian streets, very tense, like him in a little villa as he's building a weapon with just like the one lamp light focused on it, and then him hearing a sound and just being really tense. I'm the only person in this fucking theater because it's 9:30 at night on like a weekday, and it's the tensest fucking experience of just like oh my god. And then I hear a fucking sound and I jump and I turn around and it's the fucking kid with the fucking sweeper, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize anybody was even in here. I'm sorry, I was just cleaning up." I'm like, Jesus, man, do you know what movie I'm watching? So movie ends, and I'm tense. I'm still tense as fuck. I am, as Bobby would say, gyrating, and I'm like, I don't even know. Should I just go home? I kind of just want to go home at this point and feel safe in my bed, but I'm like, no. It's like 11:30 now. I should drive to this Best Buy and I should stand in the line. So I'm standing in the line, and there's only like 6 people outside, and they open it up and they're like, "Do you have a pre-order?" And I'm like, "I do not. Do you have copies?" And they're like, yeah, we do. They look surprised, like, "Why are you here if you didn't have a pre-order?" Which probably would have been a smarter thing. But I ended up with my copy, and I went home and I didn't play Halo Reach. I just went straight to bed because I still felt so fucking awkward after that movie. The same thing, well, not for a midnight launch, but the same thing happened when I went to see Gravity, the Sandra Bullock and George Clooney film, where she's alone in space. I saw that at night at a theater completely alone, and it was just fucking brutal. And then I had to walk home in like the very in like the night streets that were completely empty, because I watched it at a theater downtown, and just no one's around, and I'm just walking downtown in this dark, empty fucking street, and it was so weird. It was just so weird to watch a movie like that. Anyway,
no good. To move or cause to move in a circle or spiral, especially quickly, is gyrating, by the way. It is also to be a suggestive dance, but I'm not wrong. As much as you'd like me to be here, I'm not wrong.
I think vibrating was the word you were looking for.
No, I would have said vibrating. I would have said that.
What's your midnight launch story, Bobby? What's your other one? Do you have something that can top your Halo one?
No, it's unfortunately just going to be more confirmation bias on what you would expect at one of these. But it was Johnny and I were at this particular launch. It was for Mass Effect 3. And there happened to be. So the way that this worked, we would order from a mall.
Back when you had hope for what Mass Effect 3 would be.
Yes. I enjoyed Mass Effect 3.
I also did. A lot of people didn't. Those people are whiny babies.
Like that game.
There was 2. So we knew that we couldn't get into the mall for midnight launches, but very close to the mall was a standalone GameStop. And one of the cool things about this is that there was almost like this hack that if you pre-ordered at the mall and you went, they would set up a separate table at this GameStop for their orders, which was so much faster.
Sure.
Yeah. And so we would just pre-order at the Galleria and go over to the Maplewood GameStop, and we would bypass their fucking line. And just because, again, there was very few people who do this. Sure. Anyway, confirmation bias. There happened to become a very terrible conversation that was within earshot of us, of a couple neckbeards debating why female shepherd could never be female shepherd. And it was brutal to have to listen to, and just fucking exactly what you would expect to hear at a midnight launch for a video game. A couple highbrow fellows in their own mind having a very loud discussion on why it would never work. And it was just terrible. But yes, that was just one I wanted to call out, a little hack for the GameStop line, but then also that
It's a really good hack for people in early 2010s.
yes,
Not so much these days.
yeah, which is a nice segue into, and I was doing a little just putzing on the internet. There's a lot of people that miss that, and it is an inconvenience. Like here, you know, like it is a major inconvenience, but
that's part of the appeal. Part of the appeal is that I care about this thing enough that I'm going to do this thing and stand next to these terrible fucking people because I care enough that I want it right now.
100%. And it's a situation where, at that point in time, especially, you would have to go somewhere. Like in my case, when I was doing a lot of these, I was driving an hour plus just to get it. But then as the internet became more important for this stuff, you would come home and you put the game in and you didn't get to play it right away. You had to download and transfer fucking day one patches and all this other shit. And so it became a problem. The other thing that was nice about this too was it was kind of like what you don't get a whole lot anymore. You mentioned the lanyards when you were at these, Chase, but there would be swag, there would be collector's editions of these games that were more than just some in-game cosmetics. Like you got some really cool art sometimes. You got a fucking statue.
I have a New Vegas shirt that I still wear sometimes that a GameStop employee that I was friendly with just let me have. I have a Halo 4 shirt somewhere.
That's less cool.
But. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think, I don't have anything left that can take physical media when it comes to gaming. Like everything's digital for me. And
you don't even have a disk drive on your computer?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. Johnny doesn't have one. I don't have one. It's just one of those situations where, like, even if I wanted to go into a launch like this, it looked very different than it did. And I think I would take on some of those again. Like the last launch I went to was the Switch, and that was really cool. Well, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because PlayStation 5 got delivered, and I didn't get that right away when it came out. But the last midnight launch I went to was for the Switch, and I got Breath of the Wild, and I got that.
I mean, I don't, as much fun as I've had talking about these midnight launches, I don't miss them. It is better. It is better just to get. I got my Switch delivered, and it came day of, and then I opened it up, and there was my Switch. It's like, you know what? This is great. I like this better. I like being at home and just opening the package. That's
yeah. I mean, like these games that we're talking about. Like I've got Trek TOEM. Is that what it's called? Right? Is that the name of the game? I've got that installed already.
Yeah.
So when
these pre-installations, like now the instead of a midnight launch is like, ooh, does this game launch at 11 p.m. for us because we're in Central Time Zone? Is that what it's going to do? Or, oh, this launched early because it launched in Australia and the servers went online. Like that's what we get for midnight launches these days. And also, like I live my life at this point where I don't, I'm up at midnight, where it's about midnight now for us. But like I don't know if I can go outside at midnight.
I ain't in the house.
Like I'm going to bed. What are you doing? And I'll play my video games tomorrow. And yeah, I've gotten old and I've gotten lame, and that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Here's my proposal for us. Sure. We're not going to do a midnight launch. We're not heathens. We're not children of the night anymore. We're not going to do this shit.
Exactly.
Children of the night.
But maybe, just maybe, we could get a nice dinner, maybe swing through and get a hot donut, get back at home, put on our soft clothes, and be ready for the midnight launch. And then if we want to talk on Discord, we can. But maybe
what game would you want? What feels like a game?
Pokemon. There's a new Pokemon coming out.
Yeah, but Pokemon isn't something that we could play together. Like if we all, I mean, you're saying we could all be on Discord at the same time, but I'm thinking like, is there a game out there that's going to come out that we could all have at midnight? We're all able to open it up and play against each other.
Switch Sports.
Yeah.
I
guess so. That is pretty soon.
Yeah. So, maybe it's one of those situations where nostalgia is just really weighing down my thoughts here.
Mm.
I had a great time doing these. They got harder to do as I got older, which I think that's a lot of things in life. But it was a lot of fun.
Sometimes it's difficult for it to get hard, and sometimes that's a different problem that you get when you get older.
Maybe that's what was going on in that one argument I heard at GameStop.
Oh, no.
Could be.
Why they didn't like. Anyway, any closing thoughts from you two on midnight launches?
No, that kind of runs the gamut.
Yeah, I think, like, thinking about our own deep dives and the deep dives I've done where I've show you these weird old pieces of tech, midnight launches are a vestige of the old ways we played video games, and they were cool at the time, and it's cool to look back on them. But I feel like we've progressed to a point that we're better now. Like, the environment is better than what it was then. And yeah, it's a fun thing to think about, but I'm perfectly fine hitting the download button and then going to bed and then having it the next morning.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about it for us is that it was just something that, like, Johnny and I, a handful of them, but like we didn't get to do this together. And this is a big part of gaming, and like these are things that. I mean, like, I know that, Chase, you like sports a whole lot. Johnny, you like the football that you play across the pond. But
football, please.
Yeah.
But it's a situation where, like, this is probably like the closest thing that a lot of these people, and myself included, would get to like a tailgate in a lot of ways, like something to do before the big event. And
sure.
It's a lot like, E3 being canceled is a shitty thing. It's also a good thing, but there's Game awards are stupid. Game shows are stupid. Award ceremonies are stupid. But there's still an event that reflects on something that you care. Like, if it's the Oscars, if it's the Grammys, if it's the Super Bowl, and so there's just more. And
there
more.
Is something fun about people getting together.
Yes.
And interacting with a thing, or just seeing those cultures kind of bump up against each other. Whether it's your misogynistic dudes and how they feel about female shepherd, or it's whatever filth you're going to find on the chat of a Nintendo Direct YouTube video as it's going on.
Yes.
Like, it is interesting to have those kinds of, like, hey, we've got a group together right now and we're going to see how this works, and then it'll all dissipate once this thing is over. And you'll either catch somebody that you might want to talk to again, or you'll never talk to any of these people in your life again, and either way is fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that shift has gone from midnight launches to whatever random internet event is going on.
This was fun. Let's wrap it up here and tell everybody how they can hang out with us in the future. If you want to follow along with some of the things we talked about tonight, like our for example, our quick looks, go check out youtube.com/casualhour, or you can click on those links right there in the chat and it'll take you to it.
Now you can go watch the Gundam Evolution.
Yes.
Now you can.
Now's the time. Yeah.
So as you can see beneath us there, or if you're listening to this, we've had a pretty big week. Patrick's Parabox, we played that on Monday night, had a great time. We got through 2 worlds of that game. We did everything in those and had a really good time talking through those puzzles. That's a fun game. You should check that out. We also have a quick look at that up, so if you're over on YouTube, you can check that out too. As Chase mentioned, our Gundam Evolution Network Test quick look is up over on our YouTube channel tonight, which we missed our opportunity, but this is episode 269 on 420. So
I'm glad we played it straight. We
played it straight. Tomorrow, we've got a quick look going up for Daimyo, and then on Friday night, we're going to be getting back together and playing through some more of that, getting our asses kicked probably, but that's a cool game. Tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central if you want to follow along with what that is. It's a VR game that got ported to the PC. Very, very neat concept. As I linked to chat, we stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday, Thursdays is our quick looks. Like, subscribe, follow where you can. We would greatly appreciate it. I know we've had some new folks stop by tonight. If you like our podcast and you'd rather listen to our podcast, every Friday at 9 a.m., we post the audio version of what you just watched tonight, so you can go back and listen to some of our older shit. We're on every platform where podcasts are, so the Casual Hour, wherever you listen, tune in and make yourself cozy. We also talked about Chase and his Gamers on the Go and Chasey K Plays. What's going on there?
Nothing really new with Gamers on the Go right now, although those playdates seem to be shipping any day now for us. They've shipped to some people, and Bobby and I are in, I think we're in probably the next group that's going to get a big batch. So
exciting.
Looking forward to getting those, and I'm sure we'll do some sort of episode on Gamers on the Go for those once we have them in our hands and start playing some games with those. But that's pretty much it for Gamers on the Go at the moment. On the other hand, I've got Chasey K Plays, which I mentioned earlier in the show. Johnny and I have been playing through a Pokemon Shiny Pearl Nuzlocke run, and we are at the end. We are at the Elite Four. We're ready to do it, and fingers crossed this will be the final episode. I don't think we're gonna have to break it up into 2 parts, but we're gonna do it. If we get through and we lose and we wipe, we're done. We're not gonna build up a new team or any bullshit like that. We have our team and we're going to it. So we'll see if that works. That'll be going up this weekend. That'll be recorded this weekend and hopefully also go up this weekend if I edit it fast enough. But yeah, stay tuned at Chasey K Plays on Twitter, and you'll see it as soon as it goes up.
Awesome. Well, this was a ton of fun. It was great to hear some of your stories from those previous deep dives. Really enjoyed the conversation on the Pokemon ROM hacks that you had going on. A lot of cool stuff happening. Make yourself at home. Tune in Friday right here on Twitch for more Casual Hour. Take care, everybody.